What a friend we have in Jesus.
Welcome back to the Professor Penn podcast. David Penn here. Episode number 134, Identity. Identity. That was the great Aretha Franklin. Good morning, Tanner.
Good morning, David.
Did you recognize her?
No, I did not.
Okay. It doesn't get any better than Aretha Franklin. That's why I did that. And you know, she's known as a pop icon, but her roots were thoroughly, as we can see, the gospel, right? Gospel music. You know, I was just listening to those lyrics and listening to that singing. It just occurred to me, these people are Jewish.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they're everything in prayer. I mean, I grew up in a house, got up in the morning, put on Fillin', You don't know what that is, but it's ritual. Then you go to synagogue, say the morning prayers. That takes an hour and a half, maybe 2. Depends. Depends on the morning. Go home. Now, you could put your filling on at the synagogue if you wanted to. That happens too. Then you go home, have a quick bite, hit the work. Up! Time to eat lunch. Got to pray again. Got to pray again. Got to pray again after you eat. Takes an hour. Okay. Back to work. Work. Okay. Afternoon prayers. Got to go back to the synagogue. All day long, every day. And that's the light schedule, because on the Lord's Day, the Sabbath, the whole day is a prayer day. Those people were singing everything in prayer.
Yeah,
Isn't that cool?
it is cool. I guess my only thing is what leads you to think they're Jewish? Because isn't that a huge part of a lot of like religions?
It
Is
is.
prayer and
But
singing?
people let it go. See, that's the
I see.
idea of
Yeah,
identity. What's your identity? Yeah, I'm a hunter. When's the last time you went hunting? 1969. Am I really a hunter if I haven't hunted since 69?
yeah,
Right?
yeah. I see what you mean.
Right.
Yeah, I'm following.
You kind of give it up. Like, I'm a violin player. I'm a great violin player. Great. I haven't played the violin since like 2000 and maybe 4 or 5. I can't play the violin anymore. I haven't played in 20 years. The last time I played, oh, it was a command performance, but I let it go for other things, right? I'm not a violin player anymore. I'm an ex-violin player. I have memories of playing the violin, because to play the violin, that's about a 3-hour a day investment to keep things oiled up. Like, I've been playing I started when I was like 8 or 9. So if I kept playing every day till now, I'd have a ritual of playing the violin. I get up and I play scales. I play my favorite music. Then the students would start coming over. I play with them. Then I practice for my symphony performance on Sunday or Saturday or Friday, whenever the schedule was. Then I go practice with the symphony. Then I come home, play again. I'm praying all the time with that violin. Maybe that's why there's so many great Jewish violinists, because they're used to devoting themselves to something, right? Ah, the great Marine Bannon's been hanging around again, and it brings up that great thing that Steve Bannon says. There are no conspiracies, but there's no coincidences. He's being very kind. Because if you don't have 8 by 10 glossies, how do you know? It's just how the system works. I love Aretha Franklin. I'm in a kind of a buoyant mood because I'm speaking with you on the morning of Monday, August 12th, and this is going to post up on Tuesday evening, August 13th, just before the polls close here in Minnesota for our Minnesota primary. We're going to find out by the time we get back to do an episode for Thursday night if our young, charismatic candidate, Royce White, has won this election. We just don't know. We don't know. It's always a surprise, right?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, we have to wait and see.
Well, we don't know. He's got high negatives, but he's got even higher positives. People love him. People love him. We got strange things here in Minnesota, like a crossover vote. I didn't know what a cross. Do you know what a crossover vote is?
I don't, but I want to guess real quick. I feel like that's when somebody votes without or outside of their party because they don't
They
agree
cross
with.
over.
So it
They
is
cross over.
exactly okay.
Okay, now you, young man,
Yeah.
please go vote tomorrow. So you have to do this. Please, I hope you go to the polls. I'm not saying you should go. I'm saying I hope you go. I'm making an I statement.
Send me an
I
address and a time, and I'm sure I can pull up there.
Well, you know what? You're going to have to go exactly where I go because you moved into the neighborhood to be close to the studio.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? I can actually tell you where to go.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
Perfect.
Everybody, wherever you are in the country, you live in a location, and that location is politically demarcated. So if you go to your Secretary of State website, unless it's a very, shall we say, archaic website, they'll have something there called a voter locator. You punch that link, you put your address in, and you'll find out where you are geographically. It'll have a title like W9PB, something like that. It's going to be a precinct or an area, your neighborhood, and you'll know who your representatives are. You'll know where you need to go to vote. It'll tell you everything you need to know about where you are. If you don't know where you are, if you don't know where you are, I mean, really, what can you do if you don't have coordinates, right? Gotta have some grounding. And I'm gonna just say, I feel, I feel that a good place for American citizens to start is where do their feet hit the ground? It's a good exercise for you. Why do I need to do that for you? All you gotta do is go to the Minnesota Secretary of State website, put in your new address, and you're gonna have to go over, and you've never been there before, but we have in Minnesota same-day registration. So you go in, do you have any kind of, proof of your residency?
Yeah, I got some bills.
Great, bring them along. Tell you where to go. You say, "Here, I just moved into district. I wanna vote here." Let them sort it out. But the point is to vote. To vote. Like in, Florida, the primary is August 20th. You know, we started a very fundamental idea. We're Republicans, and I don't mean the Republican Party. I mean, we're Republicans. We believe in the concept of self-governance lest we be ruled by the tyranny of a king or queen. We don't like that. So, we've been granted identity, an identity. It's an identity. It's the Republican identity. Even if you're a leftist in this country, oh, heads are gonna blow off. You're still a Republican. I don't mean a Republican Party. I mean, we're living in the philosophy of republicanism, which communism seeks to overthrow. That's the battle we're living in here. That's the battle. So, a fundamental cornerstone of what is a Republican. This is something I'm doing on X. What is a Republican? Please follow me. Oh, this is another thing that's cool. Boy, this digital army's forming up. No. Digital army's forming up. It's forming up. It's forming up. When people come in and say mean things about me, a bunch of folks will come in and run cover for me now. It's great. I don't have to be the bad guy. You know where these people, you know what they do when they feel a little bit of social pressure?
Hmm.
They run away.
Yeah, no more comments come through.
That's crazy. Man, these people are, whoa, it's not my orientation. There was a guy, Corn Pop McGee. He was riding me, called himself
Okay.
Corn Pop McGee. He was riding me, and it kind of bothered me at first. I thought, I kind of like this guy. This guy is so dumb, I'm going to adopt him. And then I said, I'm not going to think he's dumb. I'm going to think he doesn't give a and I'm going to try to convert him to faith through the medium of communicating with him, saying awful things about me, and I'm saying awful things back. And I said, no, this isn't right. I'm going to convert this guy. It's going to be my project. And you know what happened? I thought about converting him, and he blocked me before I even had a chance. Like the devil knew that faith was coming.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's classic. We can get so much done on X as a community. Still, you have to have your list of 20 people that you're pushing out content to constantly and then teaching them to do it so we can go viral in Minnesota and every other state. I was at a meeting on Saturday in Minneapolis, meeting Republicans in Minneapolis. CD5, the belly of the beast. Why? Because the people are coming. I mean, we're going to organize down there. We want to be in CD5. We want republicanism. Rep- Think about that opening scene. Think about that opening scene with Aretha Franklin. Those people believe in God, right? You saw that, right? Now, that was probably in the late 60s, early 70s. It's run downhill like everything else since then. But there's a lot of cultural holdovers in the community of people that believe in God. I ran into Royce's mother just by accident. And we sat and we talked in a store with each other. And she was professing her faith. She's about a little bit younger than me. She's beautiful woman, but she's a little bit 5, 6 years younger. But that's a holdover. And how many people in that community know or don't know that republicanism, the philosophy of republicanism, is involved with the creator. So if you believe in God, you believe in a creator that grants these unalienable rights, that my rights are derived from the creator, not from the state. This stuff gets to be very simple to sort out when we recover the education that you could have been given in first grade. But you never heard you were a Republican in first grade. They told you you were American. Right. Well, this is a republic. The name of the place is America, the United States of America. But the philosophy of being an American, because we come from where is your family from?
I'm Norwegian descent and German, I believe.
Norwegians and Germans. Mine are from the Ukraine. I mean, what do we got to do with each other?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, we're American. That's what we
Well,
got.
yeah,
That's
but
what we
that
got.
doesn't get the job done.
Yeah.
America is a place. Republicanism is the philosophy that brings us together as a people. We don't know that. And we've let this communist thing slide in. Yeah, we didn't really slide it in. I mean, we let it, people of faith let it slide in. It wasn't really, it was the anti of self governance. It's the anti God. Because if you have God in your life, you're capable of self governing. Why? Because you know what to do. You got a rule book. You got a rule book. And you know what? You want the reward or the penalty, it's your free will. The whole project is built on a creator. But the founders were so cool. They didn't define it. They didn't define it. And in fact, they separated out the church from the state because they knew the priests were corrupt. They knew it. They left it wide open for interpretation. This is what you call like Royce. High positive, high negative, super high positive, super high. But, with that Constitution, because they left it open, there's no state religion. We have freedom of religion, freedom to choose. Well, these people were ballers, man. They said, we're putting the chips up on the bar here. We're going to give you the means to sort it out. And you sort it out. And we've been sorting it out for hundreds of years. I haven't been sorting it out for hundreds of years. I've been sorting it out. I was pre-sorted. See, this is another thing. I was blessed to be around people that really, truly believed. If you don't get that, because there's a certain kind of suspension of rationality, right? If you get really rational people, scientific people, and they put your brain format in that fashion, you're going to look at people that believe and go, these people are crazy. I always say to folks, let go of your conscious mind.
Well, the thing that I get in a lot of discussions about this too, and the rational mind is always like it feels the more natural way because like you just look at nature and you're like, well, this is what I can actually observe. But what I always find is when you really pick their brain down to the point, at some point they have just as much faith in something just happening or believing that it was a god that tipped the scale or did whatever.
You mean the
Does that make
unbelievers?
any sense?
You mean the unbelievers, if you push on them hard enough,
They're at the end of the day, they're believing in something that they themselves can't prove. So like they're in the same exact boat of, well, you can't prove God exists, and then the non-believers at the end of the day, they have to
proof
believe
to
at some
who?
point. Just if you're talking that kind of discussion with a non I'm sorry, I lost myself. What?
Prove to who? You said you can't prove there's a God.
To humans.
Can't
Yeah, to
prove it to
other
each other.
yeah.
Therein lies another in my ongoing series of what is republicanism? What is republicanism? Faith. We preach the gospel one to another. I said in the last podcast in the East, Lao Tzu, the natural way. Tanner was talking about nature, right? The natural way. It's completely the opposite because they put sugar on their popcorn over there. He who knows the way does not speak of it. Oh, you know what that is? That's republicanism because this is a yin yang deal, right? Over here we preach the gospel, over there you don't speak of it. But actually, it's over here because we know the gospel and we speak of it one to the other. But in republicanism, it's what we do. We don't talk a lot, we do a lot. This area, this free space, this is about doing things for the people. This is about anti-corruption, setting up the conditions for people to protect themselves, to not be corrupted. And I don't mean money, I mean corrupted. So it's a doing thing. It's a philosophy that binds us all together as Americans. And it's been deep sixed by the progressives who don't want us to know who we can be. They don't want us to know that. In fact, they have such a dire view of humanity after you pull back all the layers. You'll owe nothing and you're going to be happy. They don't think we can self-govern. My gosh, look at their ideology. Look at the ideology of the progressives. Number one, global climate change. We must be governed to save the planet. We must be governed because we're too stupid as humans and the systems are too big and too interrelated to solve this problem. It takes governmental interaction for humans to respond to climatary changes. We're just not that good. We need leaders to lead us on this issue. This is the progressive number one. Number two, social equity. Equity. We have to have equal outcomes to redress the unfairness of the colonial period. We can't do that. We need government to redress those inequalities so we have equitable outcomes. We need to be governed. And then democracy. Well, that's the highest level of human governance. So, of course, we have to create huge military structures to protect that and promote that all over the world because it's such a great philosophy. It has to be promoted at the barrel of a gun. And then, of course, women are in there and blacks are in there and Jews are in there. Everybody's in there and all their rights. These rights have to be, because if you leave man to themselves, we're anti-democratic. We're authoritarian. So in all of the primary ideas of the progressive or the liberal or the leftist or the communist or the unbeliever, all of them have in common the need for governance. Did I share that so it came through? Did you get that, what I'm saying?
I kind of understand. I think I'm gonna have to listen more.
Let me
What?
try it again. I love having Tanner here. There's global climate change, right?
Right.
We have all these laws that are being passed, like the Green New Deal, to promote changes to our energy infrastructure to slow down or possibly reverse global climate change, right?
Right.
Because it's an existential threat to humanity, right?
Correct.
We need to be governed because that's such a big threat that the individual human beings, we can't figure it out. We have to have penalties. We won't preserve ourselves. We're that stupid. We got to have leaders to govern us, to protect us from ourselves, right?
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
way it's set up right now.
well, that's what it is. This is the progressive mindset. This is how Democrats think. Then you got social equity. We had this awful white colonialism all over the world from Europe.
Hmm.
Created all this disharmony and one race is superior and another's inferior. We have to have, as Kamala Harris is saying, equitable outcomes. Everybody needs to end up in the same place, right?
Yeah.
How are we going to do that? People are different. We're going to have to intervene and govern people so things are equitable,
Yeah.
okay? And then the final one is democracy. Democracy is such a great form of governance. We have to erect a huge military to convert the whole world to our post-World War II Democrat liberal order. And in that, the rights of all the identity politics groups, back to identity, is protected in that rubric. And that takes lots of laws, lots of governance, because people are no good,
Yeah.
right? So the whole progressive project, the liberal project, the leftist project, communists hiding as liberals, and then when they get control, oh, sorry, I'm a communist. Those people. It's all about governance, them being the governors, me being the governed. But in the republicanism philosophy, I'm governed by my relationship with the Creator who has granted me unalienable rights. Life sounds pretty healthy. Liberty sounds pretty healthy. And the pursuit of my happiness, that sounds pretty healthy. In other words, if I really embrace that, I'd be a healthier, happier person. I'd need less doctrine, less psychologists, less drugs. I would be good. It'd be good with me. It's built on a redemptive strategy of faith. And if we could just operationalize that, not the gospel, spreading the gospel, that's religion. But our governance is the gospel in action in our individual lives. We don't talk about it because, my friend Howie's Jewish. And when we go to the SD45 board meeting and somebody stands up and prays in the name of Jesus, he don't like it because he's Jewish. We don't need to do that. We don't need to alienate any members in the society. We need to bring everybody's identity into the concept of republicanism. And if we knew, if our citizens knew the glory that they've been inherited, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them would say, why didn't anybody tell me this before? In other words, where's our leaders? Where are the leaders that honestly explain what is the identity that binds us together as American citizens? There's nothing like it on the whole planet. We don't know our philosophy. We're not bounded together by an ethnicity. Not everybody here is white. Not everybody here is black. Not everybody here is Jewish or Muslim or gay. We are a the anthropologists call this a heterogeneous society. What the politicians called is diversity. But what the politicians have done is they've divided us into these verticals and separated us with this identity politics, which we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. When in reality, what they could have done just as easily if they weren't communists seeking to take control of the country, they could have given us this philosophy of republicanism and bound us together as fellow citizens. It'd have been just as easy, but the results would have been different. And here's the difference of the results. Right now, we hate ourselves and we hate each other. We have a very unwell society. We're $35 trillion in debt. We're on the verge of a nuclear war and our border's wide open. That's who we are. And that's what our elites have given us. What a great opportunity for governance. Mao said, Chairman Mao, John Lennon saying, if you're going to tell me about Chairman Mao, nobody's going to listen to you anyhow. Go listen to Revolution. Think we're going to have a revolution. Mao said, the bigger the mess, the bigger the management. The bigger the mess, the bigger the management. In other words, if we really screw this thing up big time, we're going to have a managerial class of technocrats in here, and that's a great job, okay? If you can get that job, see in this audience, good evening, everybody. In this audience, not that many of you probably work in the administrative state. But if you look at the number of people that are working in the Leviathan, and then all the affiliated organizations, and then all the people that feed the thing, it's the thing. I mean, we've lost our freedom to the thing. We've let this thing grow to where, man, if you're on the payroll, it's like in China, they call it the Iron Rice Bowl. If you're a party member, hey, I mean, it's birth to death, baby. You're in good shape. You don't, and then it's, government workers. I mean, I don't know what they're working on. Because if they were really working, we wouldn't be this screwed up, would we? So the republicanism, that philosophy, finding that philosophy and spreading it. How do you spread it? You live it. It's an action philosophy, kind of like the natural way. And if you go back and look at the founders, hey, they wrote a lot about the natural way. They wrote a lot about the American way because these people were living outdoors, right? They had a house, but, it was outdoor plumbing. They were chopping wood for heat. They were hunting for game. They were tied to the land. They were tied to the natural way. What's technology done? It's liberated us from a natural lifestyle. I guess we're getting confused. Which do you like better, sitting behind a computer screen or going off and hunting?
I'm going out and hunting.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
job, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is what you like to do.
Yeah. I mean, I still find I try my best to find the enjoyment in everything. So I'm not just a bitter asshole. But so I enjoy this stuff. But if I had to give up computers to live in the woods, I totally would. I would 100% do that.
See now? Just spend time outside. Start there. Take a walk. When you pray, actually, when you pray, I had a friend of mine, Pat Marley. Man, this dude was a black Irishman. He was just a really hilarious dude. He was older than me, and Pat was wild. And Pat would talk about going to church just to see the girls. He's Catholic he was a Catholic from Iowa. He's a friend of mine. Just I went to, he had two twin sisters. He used to like to go to church to look at them twin sisters. I said this in the last, or maybe I said it on Hebrews. I'm not knocking anybody. And I'm not saying what's right or wrong for you. I'm just talking about how I grew up. The women, when we went to pray, that 3 time a day thing, they sat behind a curtain. You couldn't see them. And, the women revolted, in the 60s. Some of them said, hey, this isn't right. Women's liberation. We're not second-class citizens. My mom was among them because she did not understand. My mom's an idealist, right? She thought that was awful that she had to sit in the back of the bus and all behind a curtain. But she didn't understand that she looked like Elizabeth Taylor, and those dudes wanted to pray, and they just understood themselves. They just understood themselves. I thought you went really too far out on that boob comment in the previous episode, just to let you know.
What?
Yeah.
How could anything that I say be outrageous when you talk with Royce? That is wild.
Just saying. I'm just saying. In the terms of the Professor Penn podcast, your honesty was outstanding. Anyhow, when you pray, why these people sat in the back was so the men, I mean, they just acknowledged the perversity and the impulse to lust that's in men. I mean, just they acknowledged it. And I'm 65 years old, and I still acknowledge it. I mean, it's still an issue. And we're going to maybe talk a little bit about this at the end. But the praying part, if you're praying with all your heart and all your soul and all your might, it's like being out in the woods. Just for a brief moment, you're separating yourself from the material, the pursuit of money and the pursuit of whatever else, like going to the drugstore to go pick up some aspirin. That's what's on your mind, right? And when you pray, the only thing on your mind is praying. Like the only thing on your mind when you're hunting is hunting, or it's not going to be a very successful hunt. Is that a true statement?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
There's no talking.
No.
Can't be talking. You got to be really strategic about what you're doing. Well, praying, you got to be really strategic about your praying. We pray in Thanksgiving, believing that we've already received the things we're praying for because we're taught how to pray. Whatsoever you wish for when you pray, believe you'll receive it. You've received it and you'll have it. Believe you've received it and ye shall have it. And, we just are afraid to give over to that. We're just afraid because if it doesn't work, what does it tell me when it doesn't work? It's me. I'm not in the proper place in my life for the prayer to be effective. So instead of coming to that conclusion, I go, there's no God. No God. God didn't help me. And that's the dynamic there. God either does or doesn't answer your prayer, and you don't understand the plan, and then might have something to do about my decisions on what I'm doing. That whole interaction in there, you know what? I'm not praying at all because the implication could be God doesn't love me. The implication could be I don't love myself. The implication could be I have to give up my sin, which I get great satisfaction from, right? But to be a Republican The fundamental core. What is republicanism? The cornerstone is anti-corruption. And when people read that in history books, they think, oh, they got rid of all these corrupt politicians that were stealing money. No, no. Anti-corruption of the soul. That's the cornerstone of republicanism, because if you have a hereditary king or queen and the people are slaves, serfs, feudal serfs, that organization of humanity is corrupt by definition, because we have a human being that's making themselves into a king and lives like a king, and people that are turning themselves into serfs and living like serfs. Both souls are corrupted. It's not righteous. It's not right for one man to think of themselves as a king. That ambition is borderless. That's a borderless person. And you got people beat down and take on less than humanity. It's corrupt. Republicanism heals that. That's the cornerstone of republicanism. That's why our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people, because that's the condition where corruption is reduced, because these people believed in a creator that granted rights, which is like saying a creator that granted us soul. We're going to go out with some soul tonight. We're going to play a little James Brown, a little bit soul. Soul. So when I pray, I try to create a connection between me and something I don't understand. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for creating the light and the dark. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for creating me in your image. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for making me an American. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for making me free. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for healing the blind. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for feeding the people. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for releasing the bound. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for raising up the downtrodden. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for creating the heavens and earth. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for providing for all my needs. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for directing my path. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for our American courage. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for crowning America with glory. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for restoring strength to the weary. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds. Thank you for sending the Messiah, that I might be saved. Forgive me, my Father, for I have sinned. Pardon me, my King, for I have willfully transgressed, for you pardon and forgive. Blessed are you, God, and King of all worlds, who is gracious and ever willing to forgive. You know, a God that can create the heavens and earth can provide for all my needs and direct my path. That kind of goes together, right? Isn't that cool how that works? Get my mind in the right place so I have some faith. It's a statement of faith. It's the morning prayer. Statement of faith. Statement of awareness about republicanism. To talk about identity a little bit more before we go to the news that matters. Um, our identity is we're Republicans. These other people are communists. Uh, they could be fascists. Those are two movements of the left. Those are two movements of technology, technocracy, and of human authority, fascism and communism. I'm a Republican. I believe in the moral agency that God grants me. I believe in the moral agency that I perfect through my own free will. And I believe in a creator that grants me unalienable rights. This is really what's at play here. And when we make this simple, even if our politicians don't talk about it yet today, tomorrow they might start to speak of it very eloquently. And when it gets into identity, this identity politics thing, which we're going to talk about ongoingly, because I'm trying to work out this Jewish thing for myself. And, you know, things change, right? I mean, what I thought it was is not what it's become. because culture is dynamic. It's always changed by the participants. So you get a guy like me that gets frozen in a kind of a view of things, and then you look up and you go, what happened? What happened? How'd that happen? Well, part of the reason it happened was I wasn't playing. Because if I was playing in that, that subculture, my voice would matter. And a lot of people left Orthodox Judaism. At the base was faithlessness or fear, in my case, and became Republicans more than Orthodox Jews. But I know I carry that. My father carried that Orthodox thing. What the hell's going on here? I'm trying to figure it out. Because I was raised with a group of people. Man, we did a whole thing about cutting off. You can go look up on Wikipedia. If you put in K-E-R-U-T-H, K-E-R-U-T-H in Wikipedia, they'll give you a whole Wikipedia section on how you get cut off from being Jewish. Like if you're in the tribe, right? If you're in the tribe and you do certain things, you're cut off. Like your identity is you're no longer in the tribe. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of like the Amish.
Do
The
they have that?
the Amish do
They're
very
kind of like the
similar.
Jews then, aren't they? Because they're using the
Yeah,
old book.
I think so. Very similarly. Yeah.
Right. Like I said, those people at the beginning, I give everything in prayer to the Lord. They're kind of Jewish.
Yeah.
See, this is another thing. We got all these schisms and monotheism. You know, we say this, but we don't understand what it means. United we stand, divided we fall. Let's split up all these religious groups into their little identities. There's so many Christian identities, I can't even keep up with it.
I come from a town that the top two infrastructure around that whole city is just banks and churches. And on the street that my high school was at, when I was going to high school, I started, there was no churches but one. And
Yeah.
then there was a second one. And then they got in an argument over gay marriage. So then they split, church built across the street. Now there's a third one, and it just keeps coming. There's a fourth one being built right now, and I'm talking on the same exact road. It's just a
You know,
street
that's
of
how
different
McDonald's
denominations.
That's how McDonald's and Burger King work. You ever notice how Wendy's, Arby's, McDonald's, and Burger King are all in the same area?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Same concept.
It's the same concept. And we also you talked about this in an earlier episode when we looked at the founders, like the actual, like how they designed McDonald's and how that became. So
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, they're depositories. Anyhow, they can be depositories. They can be houses of worship. They can be both. They can be neither. Isn't that cool? Lots of street corners. But the Jewish people, man, we're going to play a piece on the Jewish identity if we get to it today. Therefore, you are to observe the Sabbath, for it is holy to you. Everyone who profanes it shall surely, you'll like this, be put to death. In other words, if you're out whoring around on a Sunday, Tanner, and you say you're a Christian, you know what? Things changed. Because if you're Jewish, like if you're in Israel in the Orthodox part of town, and you walk through there and you're not Orthodox, well, they're going to come get you. They'll stone you. Yes, they will. For whoever does any work on it, that'd be the Sabbath, that person shall be cut off from among the people. Cut off. K-E-R-U-T-H. Go look it up on Wikipedia. It's the cut off. Well, we cut each other off. Here's another one. If there is any person who will not humble himself on this same day, he shall be cut off from his people. The arrogant. Well, cut off. There's no arrogance before the Lord. We don't put up with that stuff. But the person who does anything defiantly, not having any defiance here, whether he is a native or an alien, that one is blaspheming against the Lord, and that person shall be cut off from among his people. There was no profession of atheism around this crew.
Who wrote what you're reading right now?
That would be, according to the Jews, the finger of God. I'm reading from the 5 books of Moses. That would be called the Old Testament.
Yeah. I didn't know what point we were
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, this was numbers. Here's another good one for you. You're kinda going, "Wow, this is heavy."
Yeah.
Here's another one. Because he has despised the word of the Lord and has broken his commandment, that person shall be completely cut off. His guilt will be on him. You know, when you get completely cut off, you gotta give up your membership card. Like if you're in the cops, right? And they suspend you, they take your badge and your gun. That's it. Not a cop anymore. You've been a priest, like Cardinal Vigano. He's been defrocked. They take all of his holy shit away from him. That's what they do. In the Jewish religion, in the Israelite tradition, when you did these things, hey, you had to turn in your membership card. You were cut off. Here's another good one. I like this one. I will also set my face against the man and will cut him off from among his people because he has given some of his offspring to Moloch. Moloch is a god, perhaps. Maybe it's just the art of killing your children. There's some commentary that way, started about 400 or 500 years ago. You know, like if you give your offspring to child death, sacrifice, right, so as to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name. Cut off. Cut off. That's the cutoff.
Okay, sorry, I just have to make sure I understand this. So you're not supposed to do that, or they're saying if you
No,
don't
if you do
that.
that, you're cut off.
Okay, okay. I
Let
thought
me
they were
just
saying
draw
if
it
you
out for
don't
you.
do it.
Not that I'm trying to get into an argument, but one would make the argument here, if you were an Orthodox Jew, that they would be pro-life. Because if you're not pro-life, you're cut off. You're out. You're no longer part. You can't call yourself. Turn in your gun and your badge. Put them on the table right now. Or like when someone, gets court-martialed, they rip their rank off. We'll take your scabbard now and your sword. Thank you. All of the signs and symbols that say you're part of our organization, you're cut off. You're cut off. See, this is an identity. We're talking about identity now. Identity. These people that say they're Jewish, but see, there's other Jewish people that say, you're really not Jewish. I'm not taking a side. I'm just saying identity is complicated, right? Really, it's up for discussion. Here's a good one. Then I myself will I myself, ooh, that'd be God speaking in Leviticus. I myself will set my face against the man and against his family, and I will cut off from among their people both him and all those that play the harlot after him, by playing the harlot after Moloch. The harlot. Now the harlot came in here. Whoa. That would mean if you were Jewish and you had an OnlyFans account, which they're probably, I know I've never been to OnlyFans, but there's probably a whole section on Jewish girls because there's people that are into that,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know.
Good for you, but I'm
the
going
Rule
to assure
34 of
you,
the internet,
I'm
I'm
gonna,
sure that it
I'm going to
exists.
assure you there's a subspecialty in Jewish girls.
Yeah.
And those Jewish girls are playing the harlot. They're cut off. They're just cut. I'm not saying they are cut off. I'm just saying in their own tradition, which they've cut off, or they wouldn't be doing that. Here's another one. Oh, this one's good. As for the person who turns to mediums and to spiritists to play the harlot after them, I will also set my face against that person, and I will cut him off from among his people.
You're gonna have to explain that one a little more for me. I didn't understand that.
We got a way we do things. Whatsoever you wish for when you pray, believe that you've received it, and ye shall have it. It's about your faith in God. But mediums and spiritists, they got some other spin on a curveball. It says in the book, neither a magician nor a soothsayer be. There's the Old Testament, New Testament way of doing things. If you're not doing it that way, you're doing somebody else's deal. Don't be mixing deals. Okay? Now, in full disclosure, I'm cut off. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with being cut off. But I'm still Jewish. Isn't identity interesting? I can't go to those Orthodox places because I'm not keeping the Sabbath, and I've done a lot of things that they would say, "Whoa." Now, how could I get back in? I'd have to be a Baal Tshuva. I'd have to grow up my side locks. I'd have to start praying 3 times a day, and with prayer, repentance, and charity, I could get back in as a Baal Tshuva, and that's a heavyweight I got a friend of mine in New York that was a baller who he made that move to be a Baal Tshuva. That's a baller move. I have a different spiritual path. I just do, and I'm at peace with it. But it doesn't mean I don't miss being part of the tribe, because I do. In fact, there's a cigar shop here, and you're gonna laugh about this. There's a cigar shop. I don't smoke cigars, but I found a cigar shop, and everybody in there is Jewish. It's kinda like going to synagogue only for smoking cigars. I really like it. Okay, let's get on to some stuff that's, a little bit more, shall we say, pressing. Could you please play number 2? Number 2. These are scenes from World War II, 81 years ago. Not that long ago, in the course of infinite time. A blink of an eye, one might say. We're going to have to let go our conscious mind. Tanner, I'm going to ask you to let go your conscious mind, because that's those scenes, which I have to say this because I don't want anybody to think I'm a Nazi. That was played by me because that told the story of a great battle from the German perspective. It was a very pro-German kind. The music was uplifting, and it's great scenes of the German army. And do you know what the German army was doing?
Or protecting Hitler?
No. Well,
Oh.
No, they were entering a region called the Kursk region, an oblast, a province in Russia, the Kursk area, which right now, today, today, 81 years later, the Ukrainian army has penetrated into Kursk and they're moving inland inside of Russia. It's the first time the Russian boundaries have been penetrated since the Germans attacked Russia in Operation Barbarossa in 1942. So these scenes are seared into the minds of the Russians. If you could just get on their street corner for a second, those uplifting scenes of the German army in Blitzkrieg penetrating into the Kursk region, that ended up being, are you ready? The largest battle in human history. Because right now, today, the Ukrainians have gone right down the same road. The Ukrainians have entered Russia in the Kursk region, following this same path. Well, it's a little different. Actually, this thing was a German attempt to cut off the Russians in a flanking maneuver. It was a phenomenal battle. This battle was so big. Are you ready for this? Could have been 4 million people died. Nobody knows. 4 million. It was at least 2 million, for sure. But nobody knows. And this was the end of the German war machine. This broke the back of the Germans. The Germans, and remember what Putin was saying? He wanted to denazify Ukraine. And everybody went, what do you mean Nazis? There's no Ukrainian Nazis. But look what Putin is seeing this morning. He's seeing tanks and soldiers penetrate his country for the first time since the Germans did that, the Nazis. So, if you just had kind of a broad conspiracy theory, like I'm a Russian and you're not. And just 81 years ago, the Nazis came and 4 million people died in this battle. Everybody needs to understand. Could be 2 million. Who's counting? Let's just go low and say it's 2 million. 2 million. 2 million people died in 5 or 6 days. That was the intensity of this battle. 2 million people. Like, I don't know, what would that be? Like Dallas, Texas. Everybody's dead. These people, these Ukrainians, I wonder if they're Nazis. I'm sure the Russians think they're Nazis because they're doing the exact same thing to the Russians that the Germans did in 1942. It's exactly the same from the Russian street corner. They're being invaded by Nazis. And why would we say they're Nazis? Because they're not Russians. It's like the Jews right now. They say they're fighting the Amalek. The Amalek, that's a biblical tribe. I mean, are the Palestinians, are the Hezbollah, the Houthis, are they all the Amalek? No. In the minds of the Jews, they're the Amalek because it's a catch-all phrase for those that would want to destroy the Jewish people because the Amalek wanted to destroy the Jewish people. It's part of identity. The Russian identity, those Nazis tried to destroy them and conquer them, right? I mean, when 4 million people are dying in a week, call it 2 million, I'm sorry. Well, let's throw the wounded in there. And those that died, the civilians, who knows how many people died? This was the biggest battle. The battle for Kursk in World War II is the biggest battle in human history. And now there's about 10,000 Ukrainians popped into that Kursk region inside of Russia. It's not like the German army. It's not. But in the minds of the people, the boogeyman is coming. They're being invaded by Nazis. And guess who those Nazis are? That'd be we the people, because we're backing up this play. I was reading in the Atlantic Journal. You can tell from the name. The Atlanticists think this is great. It's proving that Putin is going to back down because this is the ultimate red line. Don't invade my country. Where's nuclear bombs? They're saying, see, it's all a bluff. We can beat them we can actually overturn the Putin government. That's who these people are. I actually read this with you can go find it go to their magazine. Go read what's going on in the Atlantic Council. These people want to win.
What is winning for them? Because that's what I've been kind of confused about. They don't actually believe that Ukraine's going to go in and take over Russia, do they? Is that literally their plan? Or is I guess we don't
I have
actually
no
know.
idea how
Okay.
insane these people will go. You know, if NATO gets triggered in here, you're going to have a general war between NATO and Russia. You know, there's going to be a winner and a loser. I mean, this is not a game. Why I'm bringing this up here on the 12th of August, when we can vote tomorrow, please go out and vote in your primary election. If you're in Minnesota, call everybody you know. It's too late. This is going up Tuesday night. But we made a lot of those calls. I had a beautiful voicemail from a listener, guy named Peter, and he left this beautiful voicemail that I'm a very calming influence on him. That he thinks, that I'm being very calming. And I thought, oh, this guy's going to criticize me. As soon as he said calming, I thought he was going to get down on me for not being calm, But no, he finds me a very calming influence, which I think is great. Now, while we're sitting there, I get a text from somebody who says I'm a bully. I'm a bully. No, let me just define this for you people out there that watch me to trip me. I'm the most calming influence I can be unless you step on my blue suede shoes. And when you step on them, unlike the people that have come before me, I'm not going to be nice about it because I know you don't like me. Because if you liked me, you'd find me to be a calming influence. I mean, when somebody gets on here and says we want to reclaim the philosophy of republicanism that's based on self-governance and ending the corruption of the people, and people don't like that, I'm thinking to myself, well, then who are you if you don't like that? Because obviously you're an alien. You have an alien God. And if you have an alien God in the old way, you get cut off. Republicanism is so cool that we allow for people to worship alien gods. And what we want to do as Republicans is live a life that encourages those people to join with us. This is what you call balls on. Or as they said, it's a republic as long as you can keep it. It's an action deal. This is not about staying home with your 4 flat screens and eating ice cream at 9 o'clock at night. And if you do that, I'm not trying to get down on you. I'm just saying republicanism is an action philosophy. It's an action philosophy like hunting. I mean, you got to get out there and do it and live it. Battle of Kursk going on. It's the most dangerous moment in my lifetime. What's Putin going to do? Well, Putin's been downplaying it. Putin has been saying it's not that big of a deal because he knows what it represents. So he's been downplaying it. And I wrote a letter to Putin, an open letter, which went nowhere. And I said, when this whole thing started, long time ago, that the future of humanity's existence would be in his hands. That he is actually, there are people all over the world. We don't know why. It's not up for me to judge. It's like Royce, okay? People criticize, all these things about him. That has nothing to do with his personal life, my personal life, Putin's history as a KGB agent, Donald Trump's history of doing this, that, thus, and so. That is just getting people's minds diverted into the profane so they don't look at the sacred. What are these people really doing in human history at this time? Let's be focused on it doesn't matter if what one would call it is a Tahoe miracle. What matters is if I feel the touch of God, myself personally. So, for example, we played on the podcast many, many episodes when Prigozhin was tearing up the road towards Moscow. Really, it was a coup was going on. And Putin went on television, and I played it on this podcast, and he renounced communism. He renounced it and said it was a mistake and that it screwed his country up. and that they were a Christian country standing on Republicans, and that Russian people should not pick up weapons against Russian people. That army, Prigozhin's army, which was the Wagner group, that's a badass group of dudes. They put their weapons down and said, we're not going to do this. And Prigozhin was on his own, and he allegedly met his end. But Putin was so powerful. Okay, I'm not thinking of him as a Russian. I'm thinking of what is he doing in in the world of the ideas, in the unseen world. He renounced communism and said that his country had embraced its roots of Christianity, of faith. What does that mean? What does that mean? And what would it mean if he really believed it? Because I can only believe the things that are coming out of his mouth. I know there's all kinds of people that say it's a scammer, and he may well be, but I got to go with what he's doing and what he's saying. Not a Putin apologist, but he hasn't let loose a nuclear weapon. And that shows a certain restraint, which is certainly not coming from our side of the equation, because our globalist leaders have encouraged and are arming the Ukrainians to attack inside of Russia, which is an escalation of phenomenal proportions. Could you imagine if Mexico attacked Texas? What will we do to Mexico? There wouldn't be much. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. If a Mexican armored division came across the border in the Baja and started moving north towards Los Angeles, oh, it wouldn't last long. That's just the way it is. And it's going on all over. The new Iranian president is arguing with the Iran's Revolutionary Guard elements. Their senior military is arguing with their new president about how to respond to Israel. And it's not a surprise that the new president, who was elected by the people, because they do have also republicanism is bubbling up there. They have votes. They elected a reformer, and he wants a muted response. He doesn't want a big war. What a surprise. He was elected by the people. Man, this is a big jump ball, what's going on. I'm starting to make Smotrich my new favorite villain for my movie that maybe one day I'll get to write. Prigozhin was my guy, but he's dead, allegedly. Died in a plane crash. Smotrich, man, what a figure he is. Bezalel Smotrich said Monday that it might be, quote, more than justified for Israel to starve to death 2 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, but said it couldn't due to international pressure. Quote, we are bringing in aid because there is no choice, Smotrich said at a conference hosted by Israel Hayom. And this was quoted in the Times of Israel. Quote, we can't, in the current global reality, manage a war. Nobody will let us cause 2 million civilians to die of hunger, even though it might be justified and moral until our hostages are returned. I have to work on my Jewish identity. I have so much more news that matters we can't even get to it. I'm going to pick it up next episode. It'll all be relevant. Oh, here's a good one we got to do today because things could change quickly. The dictator Maduro in Venezuela has arrested 2,000 Venezuelan protesters and he vows maximum punishment. Maximum sounds like death to me. He's not letting go down there. And this thing is cleaved along the line of conflict with the United States saying that Maduro was elected through illicit means, and China and Russia saying, that he's the guy. So there's quite a throwdown there, kind of obscures globalism and nationalism. When the United States squares off against Russia and China, it kind of obscures it. It looks like the United States is fighting Russia and China. But the truth is, all three organizations are globalist. They're all globalist. They're just fighting like crime bosses. They're fighting over who runs the deal. They're all globalists. Why would China and Russia give a shit what happens in Venezuela? They're way out of their backyards, okay? They're globalists. The fight is about who's running globalism. It's just us poor Republicans that are saying we want borders in a country and faith. Just a handful of people. We better start living like we mean it. And somebody asked in the last podcast's live chat, what the heck is going on in Bangladesh? Could you please play number 3? That's the Bangladesh parliament. So when you see parliaments like that, apparently things have broken down. I think what's happened is a corrupt, authoritarian, secularist government that's aligned with the globalists, formerly aligned with the globalists of the West, but now tilting towards the Chinese that are right in their backyard. They got kicked out by the students who, for some reason, seem to me to be Islamicist. And we're going to have to go over the history of Bangladesh and India because it's interesting. It's hard to tell, but it seems to me that a group of globalists that were aligned with the West and then were tilting to the East, and in fact, that woman who was the person that got kicked out that led to this chaos, her name's Hasina, she said, and you can only listen to things that come out of their mouth, that if she'd bowed to Western pressure and allowed the United States to put a military base on Bangladeshi territory, she'd still be the boss. But because she rejected the globalists in the United States government, they deposed her using Muslim students to get the job done. News at 11, movie at 12. We'll see how it turns out. Okay. Well, we're working on this Jewish identity thing. Oh, we have a visitor just came in the studio. We'll have to extend slightly. We're not going to mic her until tomorrow. Maureen Bannon just walked in. Good morning, Maureen. Well, I'm so happy to. Isn't this great? This is Maureen. This is the great Maureen Bannon.
Nice to meet you. I'm Tanner.
This is my producer, Tanner. Everybody, Maureen's in the studio. Maureen came here tonight, Tuesday night. It's Monday morning for me, but for you, it's Tuesday night. We will be sitting someplace with Royce waiting for the election results to come in. Maureen came in to support Royce. Why? Because we're a national movement of the people, and the fountainhead of that movement, the head of that movement is Steve Bannon in War Room. That's the philosophical place that I got my start there. I met Steve Bannon through my law firm in 2017, started reading about him. The Jewish people around me told me he was an anti-Semite. I said, anti-Semite? I don't see that. What the hell are you talking about? Then my mom explained it to me. He uses the word the Westphalian nation state because, see, these people were globalists. They don't want to hear about nation states. That makes them think of Nazis. So nobody ever listened to him. I was the first in the family. He's having rabbis on and stuff, doing benedictions. I'm thinking, he doesn't seem very anti-Semitic to me. It's like Royce White. I met Royce on War Room. And then they started saying he was an anti-Semite. I said, anti-Semite? I've been watching this guy for months. He's not an anti-Semite. You people are lying. Why are you lying? I myself got involved in politics because I saw Dan Schultz on War Room talking about the precinctstrategy.com, where you can go for everything you know to get off the couch and get in the game of politics. And I called him. And because my mother kind of was a major player in the Democrat Party, I knew this stuff worked. And look how far we've come in just 3 years. You see, when people come in the parties, you're out there. There's 1,000 David Penns out there. People that are serious, that know how to think strategically and are willing to do whatever it takes to do what? Just spread the philosophy of republicanism. We're not asking anybody to die for their country. We're asking people to live as Republicans, to self-govern. It's good for you. You know what's cool about this? If you actually live as a Republican, you'll be healthier and you'll live longer and you'll be happier. That's what we're selling. That's our product. Live long and prosper. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? until you don't have it anymore. See, it sounds like hokum until it doesn't exist. Like when people are dying, like life expectancies are falling down. There's diseases everywhere. People are sick. I read today on X, I can't even say it. I'm afraid to say it because I could get a strike. We can't even talk about such things. Let's go on. But people need to go look at what's going on with the health of the nation. You just got to go look it up. Like trade, which is another thing I started referring to War Room for. In fact, we're going to do, God willing, the sun rises in the east tomorrow morning. Maureen and I are going to do an hour and a half Professor Penn podcast. We're going to talk about how all this thing got going. We'll post it up, not Thursday, a week from tonight, next Tuesday. I'm looking forward to it. But we have to understand that we have thought leaders. Royce White is a philosophical thought leader. I'd like to think I'm, earning my place amongst that now because there's a dialogue of people. And even though the discourse is not necessarily articulate today, I said this earlier, you're saying, what are you talking about, Professor Penn? Because our leaders aren't talking this way. Actually, as we move into the future, we are going to become very clear about republicanism, and we're going to share that with our fellow citizens because there's people that are caught in other ideologies that are worshiping foreign gods that might say, whoa, this republicanism thing is better. I like it better. I like the concept of having a creator because if you're in that other camp and you believe in God, you're on the wrong side of the football. If you're in that camp over there, that leftist camp, and you still say you believe in God, stop saying it because, like the Jewish people, you're actually cut off because it doesn't work over there. That's an anti-God crew, and they're going to get more and more honest about that. That's why they're calling me a weirdo. Remember the last thing we did weird? Right, that's why they're calling me a weirdo. Because we're getting clear about the uniforms are going to get baked down to 2 uniforms, white and black. Be easy. And you see it in everything. Trade. We had a long segment last time on trade. In fact, I asked Maureen to watch that. You didn't do it yet, did you? Nope. That 15-minute piece we played on trade, that's the Biden administration and the leftists getting out in front of Donald Trump's trade policies and owning them. This is what politics is about. It's about outflanking. That's what fighting's about. That's what's going to go on in the Kursk region. It happened in World War II, and it's going to happen right now. In World War II, that Kursk battle that was 2 million people died, that broke the back of the German army. And how did it happen? The Russians outflanked them, surrounded them, created a pocket, and killed everybody. The Russians don't believe in blitzkrieg. They believe in marching forward step by inch, turning everything into, a lunar landscape with artillery. They don't like to create bulges. Bulges. There's two kinds of philosophies here, right? There's the mechanized attack. I think the U.S. military tries to do it both at the same time. They don't like bulges, blitzkriegs. Their mechanized movement is in the whole front. But that's what happens when you spend $2 trillion a year on your military. You can have a 600-mile front of everybody moving forward at full speed, like we saw in Iraq in 2003. When you have a limited budget, you can't afford such things. Then you end up with these bulges. So there's a bulge now in the Kursk area again. The Ukrainians are in there. Oh, they could get surrounded, and that could be the end of the Ukraine war. And maybe that's what this is all about. Let's see. But trade news, we played this 15-minute piece. And what was my takeaway on that piece is that the left is trying to take credit for the Trump emphasis on Made in America. We played that piece. Because Biden has said the most important 2 words in America is Made in America, which everybody got down on. It was cute. Anyhow, the point is they passed 3 pieces of legislation. We talked about this, but I want to tell you what's really going on, the real story. They passed the infrastructure bill, because the ports, why, if you're going to be made in America, why do you give a shit about the ports? It's all the railroads. Well, they're doing some railroad work too, but it's money for the ports and for, to move stuff around the country, infrastructure. Let's say 300 billion. It's a big number. Then they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which was actually the Green New Deal. They just changed the name to push it through. And the Republicans voted for it. That's why we have a law, Inflation Reduction Act. Okay. So what did that do? That created the incentive for the green energy revolution. And then they had the CHIPS Act. The CHIPS Act was really a government funding of research into the fourth industrial revolution, advanced AI and robotics, and the CHIP Act building our chip infrastructure here in the United States. Remember they showed the factories they were building? They're building semiconductor plants. And what they're telling the people is, we're doing this for you because this is about the workers. This is about the work. Remember they said that's about the workers? We're going to think about workers and not shareholders. They're lying. They're lying so intensely because when you start talking fourth industrial revolution, let's just talk about the tire business. These tire factories, which are closing now, and a larger tire factory is 3,000 people. That output now comes with 300 people because the factory has AI and robotics. So they don't need the people. The whole manufacturing process has they eliminated those pesky humans. Those unions that the Democrat Party is so into, they're eliminating them because there's no jobs. No jobs. Quit lying to the people, right? Here's the fundamental lie. The cornerstone of this whole lie cake they're making. If science comes up with it, it's a good idea. That's a lie. There has to be a cost-benefit analysis. What's the benefit and what's the cost? The cost is, in a 3,000-person tire factory, they only need 300 people. That means 2,700 people lose their jobs. Is that okay? You have to ask yourself, what's the cost and where's the money going? If you can get 2,700 people out of the money equation, sounds like somebody's making more money. It sounds like it's about the shareholders, not about the workers, because there aren't any workers. It's a great way to break the unions, right? All of the industrial unions that are involved with anything regarding to the consumer economy, and I know this because I read the Federal Register every morning, and I follow this kind of stuff very closely. They're writing off the people that work in these tire factories. This Biden administration, Biden-Harris trade policy is, we're writing off all the workers in this industry. It's 15,000. It's not that many. We're writing off domestic tire production, and we're writing off control of the supply chains by people that were born in America. My whole industry has been given to the Chinese. I don't know why. I'm not in the room as to why. And somebody's getting a benefit. I'm not. Somebody's getting a benefit. Remember that thing they said, as long as shareholder value goes up and consumer prices go down, everybody's good with neoliberalism? Remember that? They had that? Well, this is the most neoliberal thing I've ever seen. The price of tires is going down and the quality is going up, and they're all imported, and shareholder value is going to go up because all the employees are going to disappear. So when they tell this story, let's just make sure we understand what the story is that they're not telling, which is they're militarizing our economy. They're investing hundreds of billions of dollars in fourth industrial revolution research, which is military in its intent, and its application in the society at large is going to disemploy the majority of people that are still working in factories. That's what we're doing. Where are all these people going to go? What are they going to do?
Yeah,
They're going to be
especially
government dependent.
yeah, because we're raised since children to be little consumers and get a job and work. That's so those 2,300 people, where else are they gonna go? Or 2,700, wherever that figure number was.
Oh, this
Where are they gonna
factory I'm
go?
thinking about is in the center of Oklahoma. There's nothing there. Ardmore, Oklahoma, when that thing closes, those people are out of a job. That's one plant closure that's been announced this year. There are going to be many more because the Biden administration has the gates wide open for a flood of imports, a flood, and they're actually reducing the taxes that the Trump administration put on in a big way, and all they're protecting is green energy, chips, and the fourth industrial revolution, the military-industrial complex operationalization of policy. And anybody that's in the what you'd call the consumer economy, hey, baby, your refrigerator is not coming from Ohio. It's made in Mexico, okay? Your washing machine, they didn't make that in Kentucky. That's coming from Mexico. So when they say it's the post-neoliberal era, that's a lie. It's as neoliberal as it ever was, and they're just going in the war business because it's a really great business. That's where we're at. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to have to grow a spine. Play number 11 as we close out here today.
Listen, this won't do any good. You'll never understand me, but I'll try once and then give it up. When a man's partner's killed, he's supposed to do something about it. It doesn't make any difference what you thought of him. He was your partner, and you're supposed to do something about it. And it happens we're in the detective business. Well, when one of your organization gets killed, it's bad business to let the killer get away with it. Bad all around. Bad for every detective everywhere.
You don't expect me to think that these things you're saying are sufficient reason for sending me to this?
Wait till I'm through, then you can talk. I've no earthly reason to think I can trust you, and if I do this and get away with it, you'll have something on me that you can use whenever you want to. Since I've got something on you, I couldn't be sure that you wouldn't put a hole in me someday. All those are on one side. Maybe some of them are unimportant. I won't argue about that. But look at the number of them. And what have we got on the other side? All we've got is that maybe you love me and maybe I love you.
You know whether you love me or not.
Maybe I do. I'll have some rotten nights after I've sent you over, but that'll pass. If all I've said doesn't mean anything to you, then forget it, and we'll make it just this. I won't because all of me wants to, regardless of consequences. And because you counted on that with me, the same as you counted on that with all the others.
Would you have done this to me if the Vulcan had been real and you'd got your money?
Don't be too sure I'm as crooked as I'm supposed to be. That sort of reputation might be good business, bringing high-priced jobs and making it easier to deal with the enemy. But a lot more money would have been one more item on your side of the scale.
If you'd loved me, you wouldn't have needed any more on that side.
Come in. Hello, Tom. Got him?
Got him.
Swell. Here's another one for you. She killed Miles. Oh, and I've got some exhibits. The boy's guns, one of Cairo's, and a $1,000 bill I was supposed to be bribed with. And this black statuette here that all the fuss was about. What's the matter with your little playmate? He looks broken-hearted. I bet when he heard Gutman's story, he thought he had me.
Cut it out, Sam.
Well, should we be getting down to the hall?
Harry, what is it?
The, stuff that dreams are made of.
Huh?
So let's just finish up with a little talk of identity. Tanner, that was The Maltese Falcon, a film noir directed and written by John Huston, starring Humphrey Bogart. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. You can add it to the list of movies you're not going to watch.
Is that the is that the actor from Casablanca?
Same guy.
Okay.
And why did people like Humphrey Bogart? And I'm going to tell you why. He was the embodiment of maleness, the identity of being a man in this time of American history, in this place called America. Standing on our 5,700-year tradition, he was a Republican. He was self-governing. And that scene, which was the penultimate scene of a very interesting movie, is a story about republicanism and self-governance. This woman, Mary Astor, who plays the villain in this movie, she's a liar and she's everything. You know, this is back in the day. I mean, you just had to assume who she was, right? But these people, it's very clear in the movie, everybody's sexually doing their thing. Humphrey Bogart talked about his, partner who died, but it seems in the movie that he was having an affair with the guy's wife. And Mary Astor was working it wherever she went. And they were interested in this Maltese Falcon, which interestingly is remarkably like an idol. The kind of thing that dreams are made of, right? An idol. Or maybe it represented Humphrey Bogart's potential life with this Mary Astor, this character, a life of love and sexual pleasure and riches, because that was supposed to be a very valuable icon. An idol. An idol. And Mary Astor had given over to her pursuit of this idol. And Humphrey Bogart, at the end of the movie, says, I'm not doing this. And he gives all these reasons. Why? Logical reasons. Logical. Like, you might shoot me. You'll have something on me. I'll have some. He's going, I need to do something for my partner because that's what a man does, even if he's not a good guy. I mean, I got to do so. It's bad for business. He gave all these very logical, and then go on the other side, on the other hand, maybe I love you. And she says, you know you love me. And he goes, maybe I do. And he grabs her and he looks at her and he's got that crazy look in his eye. The crazy look and that look, the search for truth look. Like, I'm going down the rabbit hole. I'm not going to do this. Even though you're going to give yourself to me and I'm going to be pleasured in the moment, I'm not going to do it just because everything about me wants to do it. And there you have everything you need to know about all we need to do to go right and everything we've done to go wrong. But in this film noir back in the 30s, men were still encouraged to say, I stand on a set of principles. I stand on a set of Republican ideas which are based on the 5,700-year search for truth. I will reject this money because he says, well, that would add to the equation. If there was money in the deal, that'd be on your side of the equation. You'd be rich in addition to being hot, right? And he said, no, I'm going to be a man. I'm going to reject what I know is a bad woman. I know she's bad. Well, that's kind of moralistic, but that's the time we were in. He took the time to get to know her. If you watch the movie, she tells him who she is. He rejects her. It's not easy for him to do it. He says, I'm going to have sleepless nights doing this, but that'll pass. And he did. He self-governed. He didn't take the money. He didn't take the lust. So the greed and the lust, he rejected it. He said, this is so cool. Don't think the rumors about me being corrupt are true. Maybe that's just a good way to get business. Maybe I'm tricky about that. He was not corrupt. At the end of the movie, he was given the opportunity to take the money and the lust, greed and lust, two of the biggies. Those two usually get most men, right? Particularly the type A's like me, greed and lust. Or as Prince said, there's two sides of me and they're both friends, right? Anyhow, he stood up as a man on the 5,700-year tradition of searching for truth as a Republican and self-governed. That is a scene about self-governance, standing on the search for truth. And that was what it was to be a man. So when we have a failure of masculinity, when men can't stand up, when men don't have the courage to stand up, when they fall prey to their shortcomings and give over to them with no struggle, when we make evil things into good things, hey, the ass falls right off the donkey. So what do we need to do? And I know there's women watching me, and thank you for watching, and I appreciate your viewership, and thank you so much. But the thing has to start with people having the courage. And women, you have equal rights. You have all the strength and power. We got to stand up. You got your own stuff you got to deal with. We got to stand up on this tradition. But as a man, I'm saying to the men, like I'd say to my son, because I think identity, I think the women got to work on it themselves. Who am I to lecture women or lecture black people? I'm working on myself as a man and as a Jewish American. So I can talk to the Jews and the men. We got to stand up. If we're going to maintain the philosophy of republicanism, self-governance, we got to stand up. We got to do the right thing. We got to create our own ecosystem of supporting each other to do the right thing. We know what the right thing is. It just takes some courage to do it. And as Steve Bannon said with Maureen in the studio, courage is contagious. Courage is the virtue that all the other virtues stand on. We got to be courageous now and do the right thing. And when we do the right thing, individually in our own individual sphere, that what we can affect, we change the entire world. One righteous act changes the entire world. So today, tomorrow, go forth, watch the Maltese Falcon, recognize that we can do the right thing, even if we've been doing the wrong thing for a long time. We can turn around, go the other direction. What do they say? The first step in not dying in a hole that you're digging, stop digging the hole deeper. Stop digging the hole deeper. Let's stop all of us today. On that note, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. I hope I'm here. We're going to have the big election results. We're going to have the play-by-play of that whole deal on Thursday night. I look forward to talking to you again. We're going to go out with another self-governing figure, a man with soul. Soul. That's part of the identity. Republicans have soul. Got to have soul. Got to have soul, do the right thing. Let's go out with James Brown. Badass. See you soon.
Have a good night, everybody.
What Papa doing? Papa doing what? But when we did it wrong, Papa beat the hell out of us. Get down. Papa don't, Papa don't, Papa don't, Papa don't, Papa don't, Papa don't. Papa don't take no mess.